Hello and welcome back to Tiny House and Off-Grid Resources. If it's your first time here, this is the channel where we rebuild, restore, recycle, repair instead of replace. About 3 years ago, I commenced a little experiment here on my property that didn't work out too well. It never made it to YouTube, but since then I've learned a few more tricks and I'm ready to have another go. What it was that I was playing with was biogas. Biogas is what you get when you ferment organic waste inside a closed environment in the absence of oxygen. It's anaerobic, as opposed to composting or a septic tank, which is an aerobic reaction. Biogas manufacturing is an anaerobic sealed system. That means that you can do it on your property no matter what size your property is, with no smells and really no visual pollution, providing you keep the area around your biogas generator clean and tidy. There are 2 or 3 basic types of biodigester, and those 2 or 3 basic types can be subdivided off into other little groups. There's no good or bad or best or worst biodigester design. What you must do is choose the right biodigester for your situation. Your situation depends on what kind of waste you have, how much waste you've got, the ambient year-round temperature of where you live, and of course, how much gas do you need? The basic differences between a commercial biogas system, which may be running a factory or a village or even a small town, is quite different to the operating principle of a domestic biogas system, a micro system. In fact, I'm going to call it the M.A.D system. The M.A.D system is the micro anaerobic digester. So if you want to figure out if getting M.A.D is for you, then watch till the end of the video. What I'm going to do now is just run through the basic types in Biogas 101. As I say, to start with, biogas is a mixture of gases, mostly methane, but the other major component that makes it up is carbon dioxide, and there's also a small amount of sulfur dioxide in there. That's what gives it the rotten egg smell. Easily removed, the same with the carbon dioxide. Most M.A.D systems, micro anaerobic digesters, have 2 separate tanks. One tank is the stomach of the beast, the digesting system. The other is the gas storage. But it doesn't have to be this way. Let's have a look at some other systems. Here's a really big industrial system. This is part of a massive factory farm in Germany, and it's providing all of the heating and all of the electricity for a massive pig farming operation, using a mixture of the pig bodily wastes and biomass crops, which are grown specially to be put straight into this digester. This is a similar type of thing, but at small scale. This is run by an individual farmer in somewhere like Indonesia or Malaysia. These things are dotted all over the Indonesian, African, and Indian continents. And they take care of all of the waste from family farms, providing families with heating gas and cooking gas. In this particular design, you can see the feed chute is over at the back. It's a big feed chute because there's all sorts of stuff gets pushed into this device. The main chamber has a rising and falling dome, and that's what puts pressure onto the gas so that it delivers to the house so that it can be used. When it comes to home biogas, there's already companies out there building kits that people can buy and set up at home. Here's one of the first ones that's been around for 20 years, and here is a more recent one that's coming from Tel Aviv in Israel. This one is the Home Biogas 2. And the benefit of this system is that a lot of the components are soft and can be collapsed for transport. So these are being marketed all over the world, but they do have inherent problems. Don't just go thinking, I'll buy one of those and my problems are solved. It may not be the right answer for you. This is perhaps the most simple type of biodigester. It's a single chamber. It's made from flexible materials, so it can be made from rubber, plastic, PVC, and it can just lay on the ground or in a shallow trench. This was the one that I built 4 or 5 years ago. The problem is it needs a very, very warm tropical environment to maintain its heat. I didn't have that here. I hardly produced any gas at all. Here's something that's a little bit more adventurous. It's homemade. You can see that it's made from an ICB, International Bulk Container. They're a 1,000 litre caged tank that can be forklifted and trucked around the world to deliver bulk liquids like honey or vinegar. Wine is carried like this in non-food applications, acids, paints. Now, this person is decomposing large quantities of dog poo, and they needed to extend the hydraulic retention time, the HRT. That's the time that each piece of waste stays within the system. So they've actually increased the volume of the system by adding a second chamber here. The two chambers are linked together in a clever way so that the organic matter, after being delivered through the feed chute, spends possibly a week in this first container and then gets pushed through into the second container for another couple of weeks until it's finally spent and it's emitted from the system as what we call the digestate. That's the stuff that you can put onto your plants and gardens that's odor free, and it's a balanced fertilizer that's very high in nutrients. But just to recap, let's have a look at the basic types of biodigester. The simplest one you've got is a bladder or a pillow. That can just lie on the ground. It does take up quite a bit of real estate, and it's also only any good where you're in really, really warm, temperate environments, because it's always got one side on the cool earth. The second type is also a very simple digester. This is a batch digester where you can't keep adding waste. You must wait until each batch is processed and then take the lid off and empty it out and put a new batch in. The other drawback with this type is that you've got the floating dome gas reticulation, and that of course has a limited volume and there is wastage. Gas production can come up the outside of that container and escape through this gap around the outside edge. It is, however, quite good because you can put a weight on top of it and it will pressurize so that if you have to deliver the gas a long distance to the kitchen, this system may work well. Moving on to the more slightly complex biodigester systems, you've got a separate system where you've got gas reticulation in a completely separate container. The digestate is now in a system where it can be fed continuously through the feed pipe at the top, and the digestate pipe where your garden fertilizer comes out is strategically positioned at the midpoint. The midpoint of the barrel is where the treated, finished, spent fluids reside. At the top, you've got items of waste that are still floating, stuff that's been put in that hasn't waterlogged and sunk yet. You've got your slurry in the bottom, which will eventually need to be emptied out, but that's only every 1 or 2 years. And once again, that can be used in your garden as well. In the middle, you have this zone of clear, spent digestate. Using the best features of each of these systems, here's somebody that I found on one of the forums who'd posted photographs showing exactly what he did from all recycled materials. You've got a 2-chamber design, so you've got a long hydraulic retention time. You've got a separate gas reticulation system, which is good, but they could have improved it further by using the large bladder, which will hold more. But if you're using it every day, it really doesn't matter because it will come and go according to your needs. What they've got here is the feed chute going in, the gas pipes are high so that they won't get bunged up with any floating debris. The gas goes immediately through a chlorine dioxide scrubber. The chlorine dioxide solution in here absorbs carbon dioxide. From there, it goes into the second scrubber. The second scrubber is a long tube filled with lightly packed steel wool. The steel wool is there as a sacrificial medium. It's designed to rust, and the rusting action is removing the hydrogen sulfide, which is the rotten egg smell. And from there it goes into the second scrubber. The second scrubber is full of kitty litter. Kitty litter is calcium carbonate, which attracts moisture and holds moisture very effectively, so that's drying the gas. That means that you're not going to get pockets of water in your delivery pipe that can sometimes be quite long to the kitchen. You can have a 20 or 30 metre pipe. If there are low points, any moisture in the gas will condense in those low points and will cause gas blockages. So by drying your gas and also by raising your pipe to a high elevation and keeping it rising slightly the whole way if you can, that will encourage any moisture to come back and can be caught at low points in moisture catchers. So you can see that this one has got quite a complicated plumbing system. All of this is just designed to prevent airlocks so that you get a smooth delivery of the fluid, the digestate, from one tank to the other without it going into a siphon mode and continuing to empty and actually suck the first container dry, which is possible if the system's not designed properly. So there you go. Now you've got it in a nutshell. It's a little like having your own pet dragon. You've got this animal that lives outside in your yard or your garden that needs to be kept warm, it needs to be fed, and it needs to be cleaned out once in a while. In return, it's going to give you free cooking gas and free nutrients for your garden. What could be better than that? Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be showing you how, now that I've got this place in the order that I want it, because for a long time I was living in an old truck on this site. I've now built this place and I've got things sitting more permanently, and I'm ready now to install a proper biodigester where my kitchen waste and my toilet waste will get macerated and piped directly into the unit through an airlock. So there'll be no handling of anything that's dirty or smelly. And in return, I'll get cooking gas, water heating gas, and nutrients for my garden provided without any cost. So stay tuned, watch out for these upcoming videos, won't be too far away. In the meantime, if you're the kind of person who likes to make things, fix things, find things in rubbish bins, then perhaps you should subscribe to this channel, because every week I'm doing something interesting and constructive that will save you money.